If you understand what brands want, and this is the time when they're thinking about decisions for next year and even 2 years down the road, and you can get ahead of that, then you can form relationships with those brands, and you can hopefully get sponsored. Sponsorship has changed. We're going to talk about how that change has happened. Let me ask real quick, though, just out of curiosity, how many racers are in the audience? So about half, I'd say. How many marketing directors? You're going to regret that. And how many have attended one of these seminars before? Okay, good. So a lot of new people. I appreciate that. Thanks for coming back. A lot of this stuff, for those of you who've come before, is going to change. I am changing it up this year because the book that I wrote is now getting outdated. I am going to work on a second version. I've started it. Today we're going to talk a little bit about why brands sponsor, brand ambassadors. Megan Meyer is joining me. I think she's here. I don't see her yet. There she is. All right. And she's going to talk about social media. She's going to wrap it up for us. The reason why this presentation is now going to be different from prior years, and those of you who have attended in the past, it was me talking about what I wrote in the book, and it's what I learned after doing this for about 20 years. 20 years of doing something, you get pretty good at it, right? You learn insights, you learn things, and you want to share that information. And so I wrote the book, and I conduct these presentations. But then I started, during COVID, I started doing sponsorship seminars. And during the seminars, I had hundreds, literally, we've done 10 of them now, hundreds of marketing directors have told us what they seek from sponsorship, why they sponsor, what they want from representation, what the best ways are to meet them, what the best ways to approach them. And from all that information, I've realized, wow, things have changed. They've changed a lot. Things have changed a lot in the past 5 years, and that's what we're going to talk about today. It's actually a lot more simple than you realize, where in the past, sponsorship was more of a mechanical process. I think now it's simplified a lot because of what's going on, and we're going to talk about that. So the good news is everything has changed, which means the playing field is leveled. For those of you who are just starting out, you have just as much of an opportunity of getting sponsored today as someone who's been in the racing for 25 years, has 10 million social media followers, and all the best sponsors in the world. You have just as much of an opportunity as they do today. I wouldn't even say this opportunity existed 3 years ago, but it's here today. And the resources are not only abundant, but they're virtually free. And I mean online, AI, Claude AI, ChatGPT, there's things that you can use. There's things that, technical resources that are free with a limited version, and then if you want, you pay $20 extra and you get the better version of it. So that's why it says virtually free. There's no reason not to be using some of this technology because your competitors are. And now the bad news. Everything has changed. The playing field is leveled. So everybody in this room is a competitor with everybody else in this room and everybody else out there looking for sponsorship because we are starting over today. We're starting over with what sponsors need, what sponsors want. And it all goes back to marketing. So the good news is the purpose of marketing has not changed. I'm talking about the purpose. Tactics of marketing have changed, tools of marketing have changed, even the mentality of marketing, how sponsors deal with marketing, marketing departments have changed. Everybody is a marketer nowadays. But the purpose of marketing is to increase revenue. It's pretty simple. Companies market because they want to sell more. And revenue is not just sales, quantities sold. Obviously, they want to sell more products. But if a company can't sell more products, then if they raise their prices, they can increase revenue. And that comes with branding. So there's advertising, marketing, and branding. Advertising is when you're running ads and, buy one, get one free, 30% off, a special sale, Labor Day sale. That's advertisements. All companies make ads. You're not going to help them much with ads. Companies also like to market. And market is when you go to a grocery store or any store and you're looking at the shelf and you see a variety of products and there's 5 brands in front of you. What makes you pick one brand over the other? That's marketing. Now, how much you pay for that product is branding. Whether you pay $2 or $20 for a screwdriver, that's branding. And the good news is, since marketing is a component of all 3 of those, advertising, marketing, and branding, if you can learn to help a company market or help a company advertise or help a company brand, then you'll add value to that company. We're going to talk about that today. Marketing has changed. only because the tools of marketing have changed, and sponsorship is one of those tools. It's a tool that's now kind of harder to access, to be honest. It's a lot harder today to get sponsored than it was 10 years ago using traditional means. If you're out there offering a logo on your helmet, your suit, and your car, that's not going to get you sponsored. Marketing directors, they don't need that exposure. Exposure is a bad word. Don't use the word exposure. Exposure is something that you can put a sticker on your forehead and walk around PRI. There are 1,000 brands here today, over 1,000, I think 1,500. If you want exposure, just wear a t-shirt and walk around. All these companies will see your t-shirt. That's exposure. Is that going to generate a sale? No. So that's not what companies want. That's not what brands want. What worked 5 years ago doesn't work today. You're going to hate it when I say this, but for most applications, most, not all, decks are dead. You don't need a deck anymore. You really don't. Exposure is extinct. Don't use the word exposure. And impressions are clearly irrelevant. What's important is engagement. What's important is activation. And what's important is getting to know somebody. So a deck, let me just explain why decks are dead. I have a whole chapter in the book on decks. So I wrote about decks. What's the difference between a deck and a proposal and a proof of performance report? Well, the deck is to meet a sponsor. It's just the eye candy that gets that relationship started because you've attracted their attention. You're fishing. It's a fishing lure is what it is. It's a lure that makes them want to start a conversation with you. So you have an engaging relationship that talks about you and your brand or your race team and then them and their brand. That's what a deck does. It gets that conversation started. Once you have that conversation started, once you've met somebody, you don't need a deck anymore. Now you need a pitch. Now you need to know what to say and how to say it that attracts them to form an official relationship with you and make them want you to be part of their marketing program. So one of the biggest changes is that a few years ago, 3, 4, 5, even 10 years ago, sponsors invested in your racing. You could give them a deck that showed how many podiums and how many championships you won, how many podiums you had, how many times social media followers you had, all this great stuff about you. You could give them a deck and that would attract, okay, maybe we'll sponsor this person. Because the racing created the results. Today, it's no longer about racing. Sponsors are investing in you as people, as individuals. And that's one of the key things you got to remember here is if they're investing in you as an individual, then they have to get to know you as an individual. They have to know who you are as a person. That's critical because when you walk up to these people today here at PRI and you start right into your sales pitch, well, who are you? Now you're a salesman. You're a salesperson. If you walk up and suddenly you're an expert on their product, that sort of changes the formula just a little bit, doesn't it? So one of the big piece of advice I have today is, when you're walking around PRI today and tomorrow, don't sell to the brands that are here. Get to know them. And so sponsorship, it's pretty easy, and it's come full circle. So basically, you just want to meet somebody. You want to get to know them. You want them to get to know you. Once they get to know you, you want to sort of impress them. You want to give them a reason to continue that conversation. And if they continue that conversation, you want to show them how you're going to work with them. Oh, that means getting sponsored by them, by the way. So why should they sponsor you? It's because they want to work with you. That's what you need to do at PRI. That's why you're here. When you do get sponsored and when you start working with a company, you have to create value for them. Value is different for everybody. What you think might have value, like a logo on your car, your suit, your race, and your helmet, that might not have value to a sponsor. So the definition of value changes. And then the most important thing is continuing that relationship forever if you can. Ron Capps 20 years with Napa Auto Parts. I know Toyota's leaving motorsports, but year 1 of getting sponsored is nothing compared to year 10 or year 20. This is where the money comes from. So long-term relationships, long-term partnerships, that's what's most important. As I said earlier, there's over 1,000 sponsors underneath this roof here today, here at PRI, over 1,000 of them. If you can't walk away tomorrow after PRI closes, having made 3 or 4 new friends, 3 or 4 new relationships, then you're already behind those who do. because there's no reason why you can't use this opportunity while you're here today to meet people and talk with them. Let them get to know you and meet them in person. Here's the key is they have to know your name. If they don't know your name, there's more than likely they're not going to listen to a follow-up email, follow-up message, follow-up DM, or anything that you send them. And if they ask for a deck, that means you just blew it. You screwed up. Because when they say, okay, you're giving a sales pitch, and you're talking to a sponsor here at the trade floor, and they say, okay, send me a deck. You know what that means? That means they want to stop that conversation and move on. So you blew it. You already blew it. Don't go into a sales pitch. The deck is something to meet somebody, and if you've already met them because you're here, you don't need a deck. You need to form that relationship. That's critical. Get to know them as a person. Let them get to know you. Explain how your racing makes sense for their brand, but don't sell them on your racing. That's really key. This is how I've done it over the years. In the first 10 years, I was selling all the time, constantly sales pitching. Nobody would ever respond. Then I just started getting to know people. Now I know a lot of people. You know how easy it is to sell to a friend? I mean, really, it is. If you can't call them on a Saturday afternoon or text them, let's say on a Sunday morning, and they don't respond, it means you don't have that relationship firm enough yet. You need to form those relationships first. That's critical when it comes to sponsorships, especially today because sponsors can do everything you promised to do through your racing, all the exposure you're going to give them, all the visibility, all the impressions. They can do that. They can go buy that in the media. So they don't need you. Get to know them as people. Get to know them. And once you get to know them, if they know your name, make sure they know your name. Say it 3 or 4 times if you have to. Make sure that your badges are right there. Say their name, because if you say their name, they're going to want to know your name in return. Get to know their name. It's something I mess up on all the time. The older you get, the harder that is, by the way. And it's not very fun when you forget names. It's even worse is when you use a wrong name. But you have to get to know them. The reason why the deck is not as important is because the deck is one single document that you're going to give to them and hope that that document sells your program. And it's not. It's not. Hopefully it'll start a conversation. What's going to sell the program is everything else you've done, your digital footprint. And every single marketing director I've ever spoken to, and from all the summits that we've done, they've all said this over and over and over. When you approach them, they're going to look you up. So search yourself, Google yourself. What are they going to find? If you don't have a digital footprint, and I don't just mean social media, if you're not out there digitally, if they can't search you and find you, there's a very small chance you're going to get sponsored. Most likely they won't return the call. That's probably what's happening with a lot of you. And if you have to, create your own media. So we're going to talk shortly. Megan's going to go into creating that digital footprint through social media. That is critical today. It really is. And even if you don't have social media yet, you can create other digital media by writing articles and submitting them to your local newspaper, because any local paper will write about residents, and then that article that went into the physical paper, I used to send articles all the time for my kids whenever they were in sports, and they always become digital versions. They always become an online version of the newspaper. You also then have to impress the company. So you meet them, now you've met somebody, now you want to impress them. How do you impress them? By giving them a sales pitch right away? No, but that's what we all do. I did it too for a long time, and I realized, man, I can't do that, because the people who I'm pitching to are the ones that never return my call, but the people who I just chat and talk to and they get to know me, they're the ones I now, 15 years later, have relationships with. And that's the way you want to get it. The thing is, you need to look professional, and you need to look as professional as the brand. So when you meet someone face-to-face, when you meet these sponsors face-to-face, they're looking at you. They're looking at your dress. They're looking at your poise. They're looking at the way you speak. They're looking at the colors that you choose. And they're wondering, okay, does this person match our brand? They're looking at the way you speak and the culture that you might represent, because every brand has a culture. And they're looking at that, and they're studying that. So they have to see you as part of who they are. And that means not sending out the same marketing material over and over and over to everybody, because it doesn't work that way. Every brand is different. Every brand is unique. And as you're speaking with these marketing directors, you get to know more about their brand and more about their culture and more about what they're looking for, and then now you can sort of integrate and fit into that. You have to be an expert on their brand, by the way. There was a stunt pilot who, it's crazy. Last year he asked me to approach Abbott Labs for him. I'm like, okay, I could do that. Let's talk about Abbott Laboratories. I said, what are their main products? He's like, I don't know. It's like, how do you approach a sponsor if you don't even know what they sell? I mean, come on. Know their products inside and out. Be an expert on the products, because then you'll get their attention. Then they'll appreciate the value that you can add to them. We already did that one. And then after you've met the brand, and let's say you've impressed them enough that they're interested, they're starting maybe a relationship, you got to figure out what are their goals and objectives. And it's not just a logo and exposure and visibility. It's different for every company. And in fact, usually when a brand has a new product launch, and those new product launches are announced at SEMA and at PRI, especially in this industry, those new product launches are where they allocate their financial resources. So that's where the marketing money goes. So if you're an expert on their new products, or at least ask them all about the new products so you can become an expert, that's where their money's going to be to spend. And that's how you can help them, because they need resources in the field to promote those products. They need people to help them sell those products. Most marketing departments I know don't have 1,000 people and associates that they can send to 1,000 different races in 1,000 different locations all throughout the US on a given Saturday, but there's 1,000 races going on. So if you can be their representative in the field at that event where they can't go, then suddenly now you're helping them push their products. Another way is, and that's when we're talking about helping them sell and increase quantity sold. But you can also help them increase their brand value. Like Red Bull has an image that we all know, and the image is very prestigious. It's very classy. They only sponsor champions, and to wear the Red Bull logo, you have to be a Red Bull racer, and you can't buy the logo in public. So there's an image. If you can represent that image to the brand, then you all have a much better chance of getting sponsored. And some companies need leads. I mean, they all need leads, but some will follow up on them. Some need sales. What we often talk about, though, is increasing sales and increasing branding. But what we haven't talked a lot about is saving costs. If you can show a company that you're going to go to an event on their behalf and save them the money because now they don't have to send a marketing representative, or you can create media, or you can create videos, or you can create content on their behalf, it saves them money. And the saying, a penny saved is a penny earned, I mean, that is so true. If you can show a marketing director that you're going to reduce their spend because now they don't have to run ads or send people to different locations because you're going to do it for them, they'll allocate that money your way, and that's sponsorship. What often happens that we see is when you approach a company, especially here at PRI, and you go right into your pitch, and then they end up sponsoring you with a gift certificate or a 50% off coupon. And honestly, I don't consider those sponsorships. They just sold you. You just became their customer. They tricked you into buying something by calling it a sponsorship. 50% off coupons and sponsorships like that, discounts, gift certificates, those are not real sponsorships. Sponsorships are when they give you money to help them perform a duty and an act that they can't do on their own. Product is good if it's endemic, but money is better. We're here for the money. We're here because we know how we need to spend our money to make our racing better, which then hopefully translates into more sales for the sponsor. So value is not what it costs you to race. The value to a sponsor is not how much, hey, I need $10,000 to go to this event. Will you sponsor me for $10,000? No. Value is what money can you save a sponsor by doing this activity for them or her, and how can you do it cheaper? And if you can do it cheaper, you're saving them money. And then there's no reason for them not to allocate that money to you. But different companies have different needs, so you can't approach everybody the same. This I've said many times. Young companies, the small companies, the new brands, the ones that are just starting out that nobody knows, they're the ones that need exposure. So if you offer them exposure, hey, I'll put your logo everywhere, they love that. The only problem is they have no money. So yeah, you're going to get a bunch of free whatever, clothing, T-shirts, hats, gum, juice, who knows. You don't want free stuff. What you want is a relationship where they pay you year to year to year. Year 1, year 5, year 10, year 20. You want them to pay you over a long term because you're their employee in the field. And that's because you understand their business. Manufacturers, they want product testing. If you're approaching a manufacturer, show how you can help them test their product. I mean, that really is one of the big things. And it's called transfer to technology. How can you take a consumer product or a product that a racer uses and transfer it to a consumer product The automotive industry is very big with that. New shocks, new suspension, tires. There's a lot of things that these companies need that they want to learn, and they use racers to test it for them. They realize, whoop, this didn't work. Okay, at least we didn't sell it to consumers yet. So they take the best products and turn those into consumer products. That's one really good way you can help manufacturers. A service provider like Geico, they just want you to think about them when you're out there buying insurance. They want to be top of mind. And they want to be fun and cool. Geico's an insurance company. There's nothing cool about insurance. We hate insurance. I hate buying insurance. I hate that I have to buy insurance. So they have to make it fun and funny, and they use the Gecko and the Geico thing, all this. That's clever because they make insurance more approachable. And if you can help them with that through your racing, make insurance fun, it's a distressed purchase. Nobody wants to buy that. Kind of like a flat tire. No one wants to buy a flat tire. So if you can make that tire cool or fun and not such a negative thing, then you're adding value to that sponsor. Retail stores like Target, Walmart, what do they want? They want foot traffic. They want people to go into their stores or onto their website and buy stuff. So coupons, promotions, locations, hours, you can help them convey that. With retail stores, you're not approaching a retail store the same way that you approach a manufacturer. Food and beverage companies, like we see with Monster and we see all these beverage companies, what they want is sampling. They say it a lot. Nobody goes to a grocery store and buys a strange food or a strange drink. You only buy something you've already tried or tasted, and you can help brands do that by help sample products when you go to the races. So it's not that hard. We make sponsorship very difficult. But if you think about the company itself and what they're looking for, it's super easy. They're just trying to raise revenue, and they raise revenue by increasing their brand equity or they're increasing their quantity sold. You have endemic brands and non-endemic brands. The endemic brands can give you product. The endemics are the ones that are in the automotive industry, in motorsports, tires, wheels, suspension, fuel, oil, filters. They often will give you product and will have you test it, and that's great because that's almost all endemic sponsorships start with product, almost all of them. Very rarely have I seen a sponsorship where an endemic brand gives a bunch of money out right away. They start with product. If you're good with that product, if you're giving them good feedback, then that turns into a money sponsorship. The non-endemics, though, these are the energy drinks, maybe a clothing company, a non-race suit clothing company. These are the watch companies. They have to pay for the sponsorship. You don't want free product from a non-endemic. You want money from a non-endemic. They have to pay for the right to be on your car and in your race program because they haven't earned the right through superior performance. They haven't helped you race better. They haven't made you faster. So they have to earn it through their money. They have to give you money. And then once you have that sponsorship, now here the key thing is you want to continue. I've seen a lot of sponsorships, and I bet there's a lot of people in this room who got a one-year sponsorship and then it didn't renew. And that's unfortunate because you made that pitch, that got them, you got to know a brand and you worked for them for a little bit. Even if it was free, it's okay. The first year can always be free. I have no problem with that. Again, year one is not important. It's all the way through 20 that's important. And that comes from I call it proof of performance report. It's a sponsor fulfillment report, essentially. So it's showing the sponsors what you've done for them, not what you did for yourself. A fulfillment report and a proof of performance report is not how many times did you get on the podium and how many times you won a race and all the races you went to. A fulfillment report and a proof of performance report is how many times was your sponsor alongside you in that journey? How many times did you help a sponsor get on the podium, or were you wearing their logo, maybe when your photo was taken in the media or on television? It's about the sponsor. When you do proof of performance reports, make them about sponsors, not about yourself. And the good thing about a proof of performance report, that's hard to say, is that it's something that you should be doing after every single event. I know that most of you will, after an event, will send to a sponsor a one-page write-up. That's great. That's good to do. But most of those write-ups, and I'm on a lot of email lists, most of those write-ups are always about the performance of the team. And, oh, we didn't do this right, and we had a rough day, and we should have done this different. Instead of talking about, you can mention that in a paragraph, but instead of talking about how you did at the event and how your performance was, how did the sponsor do? How many leads did you collect for Geico? How many samples did you give away for the energy drink? How many impressions, or not impressions, how many videos did you create for the company that's going to run those videos on their social media, or how many photos did you take that a company might now use in some of their posters and point of purchase displays. That's what you need to talk about in a proof of performance report. And when you send that proof of performance report to a company after you've gone to your event, and let's say you don't have anything to write about, then that's a warning to yourself that, okay, I need to do more at the next event. Now you can start creating your own media. There were many times when I didn't know what to send to a sponsor after an event, and I realized, oh crap, we didn't really do very much for that sponsor. It's your way of checking up on yourself to make sure that you're always adding value. So then you start writing more press releases, sending them out. If you didn't get a lot of media at a race, perhaps you can create some media after the race and submit it everywhere. A few articles or a few publications they might print your article, and then it goes online, and now you have something for proof of performance report. At the end of the season, you take all of your individual proof of performances and you put them together into one giant comprehensive one, and that's how you get renewals. And that also becomes the new deck, quote unquote. When sponsors say, oh, when that guy here at PRI says, okay, stop talking, send me your deck, they're all gonna do it. How many of you have actually had that where they said, send me a deck, and then you never heard from them again? Happens all the time, all the time. So instead of a deck, what you need is social media. You need a digital presence. Megan's going to come on in a second and talk about that. There have been a lot of questions that racers have, and I think the whole purpose of today was to talk about how things have changed from the past and how things have evolved in sponsorship. I talked to a sponsorship director just on the way up here, about literally 15 minutes before I came in the room, and this is David from Fifth Third Bank, and he says, the issue I think I have is that I've gotten pitched more today than I've been able to sell product. And I said, why do you think that is? He goes, well, the racers seem to feel like they have a sense of urgency, like they meet me and they have to tell me in the next 2 minutes before I move on everything about themselves. He says, I wish they would just get to know me instead. So David Morton's standing right downstairs, right at the bottom of the stairs. You'll see him on the right-hand side. You can say, hey, Alex said to come and get to know you, not to pitch you. But if you do have a lot of these questions, we're going to have another summit. You can't really go over all this stuff in an hour. You really can't. Megan's going to try to go over social media in 30 minutes. We'll see if that works. And we will both answer questions afterwards. We'll come up here. But if anybody needs a gift for a racer, a really cool gift, our next summit is going to be on January 11th and 12th. These are virtual events. And we have a PRI special that'll go until tomorrow. So I saw one person already purchased one yesterday. You're going to get the 50% off price. I apologize for announcing it today, so sorry about that. Megan, come on up. Let's see if I know how to do this here. There it is. And then when Megan's finished, I'll come up and we'll answer questions.
Okay, before you go, we've got to get a selfie.
Selfie of all of us?
Everybody, okay, ready? See if I get, it's hard to get the whole room. Okay, 1, 2, oh, really blue. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Thank you, Alex. All right, I'll refresh this. Oh, okay. Reconnect here. Maybe. There we go. Alrighty. Technology is fun. Okay. Like Alex said, I'm going to talk about social media super quick, and then we will open it up for Q&A at the end. So I'm just going to talk to you really briefly, as quick as I can, about social media and how to go from having invisible posts to magnetic partnerships and unlock the social media algorithms to land sponsorships. So raise your hand if this is you. Are you tired of posting on social media and feel like nobody's listening? And raise your hand if you struggle to get noticed by sponsors despite all the time and effort you're putting into social media. Raise your hands up. I see some over here. Awesome. Okay, so I was in your shoes, and I'm still in your shoes, right? So I'll tell you a little bit about myself first. So I am two-time NHRA world champion. I no longer compete in the NHRA anymore, but I do still race part-time. So I am still trying to raise sponsorships for myself and for my dad's team, who does still compete in the NHRA full-time. And last year I founded the Motorsports Marketing Tips Agency because when I started out in your shoes, there was nobody to help me. Nobody taught me how to do social media, right? Like, and even back then, it wasn't really a thing. People were like, oh, Facebook's a fad. This was back when MySpace was a thing, right? So, which is where, like, I'm the generation who grew up with computers and TV and all this stuff and social media, starting on AIM chat groups and all that stuff. So I've always been on it. But my parents thought, oh, you're just playing on the computer. There's no value in this. My dad's like, get back to the race shop, start working on your car. He's like, what are you doing? But I was like, no, there's something here. I didn't know what it was, but I knew there was something there. So I just continued. I would share anything and everything, probably a little too much. I hate seeing my Facebook memories where it's like, 14-year-old Megan posted about how she got grounded on her cell phone for doing too many text messages back when we had a limit, right? Just silly stuff like that. But I kept up with it, and no matter what it was, I continued to post on social media, and it finally paid off because I was finally able to start making money from it, and now I'm able to have fully funded racing career, and I only race once or twice a year, but still getting 6 figures in sponsorships. So today I want to talk to you really briefly about how you can hack the algorithm and imagine turning your posts into powerful engagement magnets. So we're going to start with how to build relationships in this quick session. I'll also share how you can go from being overlooked and having nobody see your posts and nobody interacting with you to being a racer that sponsors want to partner with. So to get started, to beat the algorithm, you need to work with the algorithm. So to do that, you need to focus on engagement. So these social media algorithms decide whether your content is getting seen by other people who follow you or by people who don't follow you. When TikTok came out, that's when the For You algorithm came out. So if you ever go to TikTok, the first thing you see is people that you don't follow, right? So how do you get on that? So the trick is engagement, and here's how to beat it. Within the first 30 minutes of posting on social media, you need to signal to the algorithm that your content is worth showing to more people. So in order to do that, you need to spend 5 to 10 minutes after you post, and even before you post, by going and commenting. So this is replying to comments that are left on your posts, no matter how old they are. This is leaving comments on other people's posts, and hopefully replying back to comments that are on your new post, right? So 5 to 10 minutes after you've made a post, go in and engage with others. This is the key. Because if you're like me, I naturally want to make a post and then immediately get off social media, right? Because I just need to, I'm so busy, I need to get on to the next thing, right? So I do what's called posting and ghosting, and I'm saying, I'm very guilty of this myself. I know everybody else is as well. So you're, thinking in the back of your head, oh, I haven't posted today, I need to make a post, what am I going to do? So you go to your camera roll, you find anything on there, you think this is good enough, you throw it up there, you immediately get off. So we need to break that cycle, spend 5 to 10 minutes after you post, and all you got to do is engage with other people. So you need to go and leave comments on other people's posts, reply to all of your comments, no matter how old they are, because the algorithm favors accounts that are active. So if you are going on social media and not posting, you're not active, right? Here we go. So engagement matters because you are using it to build connections. It's not just about getting as many likes as you can, it's about connections and building relationships. Engagement drives visibility with the algorithms, and sponsorships hinge on the meaningful interactions that you are building with your audience, and it also builds trust and loyalty among your followers. Sure. Yes. Yes, ma'am. So I want to really briefly give you a little bit more tips on the basics of how to get more engagement. So like I've been saying, leave comments. You can also go to DMs. So start conversations with people in your messages. That could be people that are responding to your stories. It could be you responding to someone else's story, you answering questions that people send into you, or even thanking someone for following you, right? That's something that I don't really see very often. Also, with your stories, use polls, use the slider, use the question box. Those are engagement tools that are there for you to take advantage of. So don't just make your post, throw it up on your story, and that's it. Use your stories to share a little bit more about what you're doing in the day. And I know you probably think, well, I work in an office or I work in the shop. Nobody cares what I do. It's not irrelevant. It's boring, right? I sit at home in my basement all day long on the computer. It's boring. But people care. People want to relate with you. They want to know that you are a human being. So share part of your day. My goal is to do 5 slides each day. And that could be a picture or a video. And if it's a video, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, your videos don't have to be very long, and you don't even have to talk to the camera. You can just show what you're doing, or set your phone up like on the table like this and have it show you working on the computer or something like that. Or if you're in the shop, what are you building or taking apart? So aim for 5 slides per day on your stories and use the engagement tools that are there. Again, respond to every comment and every DM. If there's anything you take away from my presentation, it's that, because that is the key to ranking higher on the algorithm. Because like I said, the algorithm likes accounts that are active. And last but not least, post consistently at peak times. And this is different for everybody. So if someone says to post at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, that works for them, but it might not work for you. So everybody's audience is different. Your algorithms are different. It's built just for you. So you need to go into the insights that's provided on Instagram and Facebook, and it will tell you when the most active times and the best days are. There's your cheat sheet, right? So I don't have to tell you what to do because, like I said, it's different for everybody, and I won't know unless I go into your insights and look that up for you. And last but not least, use trending audio and hashtags wisely. You might hear that hashtags are dead. Don't use hashtags. Use 3 hashtags. Use 5 hashtags. Use 30 hashtags. There's not, hashtags don't work like they used to. So they might be dead for you, but that's because you're using them wrong. The correct way to use hashtags is it's a door that invites you to other people's content. It's not necessarily a door for you to get seen like how it used to be. So I use hashtags as a way to find new people. And unfortunately, Instagram is removing the ability to follow hashtags, which was so easy because it would just, show up on my feed. So unfortunately, that's going away. But I like to use hashtags to find people. So I will pick hashtags, whether they're ones that have been used millions of times, like hashtag racing, or something that's only used 100 times. Doesn't matter. I'll look that up and search what's the latest post in there. And it doesn't have to be something posted from today. It could be 30 days old. Doesn't matter. I'll go in and I'll leave a comment on that post because 9 times out of 10, it's either someone that races, so we have something in common, right? Someone I want to connect with. And also for my business, you guys are the clients I'm trying to reach, right? So this is how I can find you. So sponsors don't care about your following count. They care about your engagement. And you might have run into a meeting at one point where they might have asked you, what's your engagement rates? What's your engagement like? Who are the types of people that follow you on social media? So you need to be able to answer those questions. It doesn't matter how many people follow you. 100, 100,000, doesn't matter. Because if you have 100 people that will buy anything you post about, they support everything you do, good or bad, in racing, those are the people you are trying to attract, not 100,000 bots or, foreigners that are just there to spam your account, right? Unfortunately, there's a lot of those, especially on Facebook. So we need to, always trying to block those, get rid of those, because those aren't quality fans. If I post about a sponsor's product, those people aren't going to buy it. That has zero value to my sponsor. So the number of followers you have doesn't necessarily matter. It's more about your engagement rate. So I do have a brand new guide for you guys that's completely free. It's called the Engagement Accelerator Playbook. And you can scan this. Whoops, I do have a QR code, but not yet. I'll explain it a little bit first. But I do have a QR code that you can scan, and you guys can get it for free. So it's broken into 3 phases. I've tried to make it as simple as possible. So phase 1 is the beginner phase. This means you're trying to get 15 points per day. Phase 2 is intermediate, 30 points a day. And phase 3 is advanced. This means you try to get 45 points per day. So the more points you get, the higher you rank on the algorithm, and the more your content gets seen by people. And these are things that you can do every day, no matter if you're making a post or not. So here's an example of what you would do if you're in the beginner phase. Like and comment on at least 5 posts in your feed. You get 1 point per comment. So it's 5 points right there, right? We're trying to get to 15, remember? Follow at least 3 new relevant accounts, 2 points per follow. And interact with a sponsor's latest post. That one's worth more because that is more valuable, right? You're trying to get your name seen by potential sponsors or partners that you already have. So this is just an example of what's in the beginner phase. The more you go into it, the more steps there are, and the more points you can get. And so like I said, these are tips and steps, things that you can do every single day. You set your goal. You determine if you are beginner, intermediate, or advanced. And you can alternate. You don't have to just pick one and stick with it, right? So pick which phase you want to do. Go through the steps. There's 15 pages in this playbook, absolutely free, literally giving you the keys of how to beat the algorithm here. And if you want to learn more about social media, as Alex was saying, join our Sponsorship Summit events that's coming up in January. We are going to be discussing topics on ROI, proposals, decks, strategies. We're having guests that are the experts at this. And I will be doing a session on social media, and I am having a guest join me who is a wizard at engagement on Instagram specifically. So very excited for him to be joining me for the Sponsorship Summit. So make sure that you guys do join us for that. You guys all should have a postcard that was on your seat for that deal. And then if you do need to scan the QR code again for the playbook, it's here. If you scan it, it will just ask for your name and email address, and then it will be sent to your inbox and take you to the website where you can look at that immediately and start doing it today. You could do 15 points right here, right now. It'll take you 5-10 minutes, right? So super easy, so take action. The algorithm favors accounts that are very active. Do not post and ghost. And that's all I got for you guys. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Megan. All right, we'll take questions. We have a few minutes for questions. In the corner? Can you hear?
No. Could you
know-
come to the front, or do we have someone that could?
Yeah,
Give a mic.
there is another microphone in the back. Let's see. Let me do this. Let's give you this microphone. I'll get the other one.
Let's see. Put that back
For
up.
the proof of performance report, do you use analytics for that data, like Google Analytics or Insights?
Yeah, so for proof of performance, so I do have a template for a proof of performance report. And in there, if you do have a website, there is a section for you to include your Google Analytics. If you do have a website, obviously you would need a website to do that. If you don't, you should get a website. There's also a section if you have an email newsletter to include your data on that, like open rate, click-through rate, how many subscribers you have, all that type of stuff. And then there is sections for your social media analytics, and especially posts that are for the sponsor you have, whatever company you're sending this report to. You should definitely include screenshots of those posts and how they performed on social media.
We got another one over here.
So if you can't tell, by the way, we have new school over here and old school. I would actually take photocopies of articles that might have been written about the event, literally photocopies, and just put that into a JPEG and send that as a proof of performance. So photocopies of any printed material also work. Photos work if it's a photo that's published. If it's just a photo you took, unless there's a lot of crowded grandstands with the sponsor's logo in front of the crowd at the grandstands, I wouldn't recommend it. Never show empty grandstands, by the way, ever in your deck, in your proof of performance and your proposals. Proposals, what you use to actually close the deal. We'll go into that at the summit, but there are different ways of doing it. Megan has the nice analytical, pretty way of doing it. But for those of you who don't have access to analytics, you can still go old school and take photocopies of things. Another question?
So for those of us who were utilizing all of those teaching to grow our social media account and engage with followers and whatnot, what do you do for scenarios where you potentially are shadow banned per se, where you were growing your following and now all of your followers are leaving and you're not getting any post engagement anymore and you just can't seem to break that streak in any way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, good question. So I would say, obviously there's something that needs to be switched up in your strategy there. And there's no one specific reason for shadow banning, and it depends on who you ask, because there are, social media coaches and gurus out there. Some say, if you do these exact things, you'll get shadow banned, and some say it's made up, it doesn't happen. So if you are running into any issues like that, I would say maybe take a break, like a 24-hour break from social media. If it is something that you're doing like every day, like very frequently, I have never run into the issue where it has become a negative thing for me or for my clients. But I would just say maybe take a break and then just kind of refresh. And I would, change up your strategy. Maybe there might be something in there that you're doing that could be leading to that, whether it could be like a hashtag or maybe what you could do is on Instagram specifically, it shows you accounts that follow you that could be spam. And you just click on, you go to your profile and click on the number where it has your followers. And you can go in there and immediately delete all those fake or bot or spam accounts. And that might be something that's really hurting you because maybe you have hundreds or thousands of these bot accounts that are following you, and that's why it's not showing you to more people because you're just getting a bunch of spam come in. So, and for everybody in this room, I would do that immediately because you might see a huge dip. Like I lost 500 followers in 30 seconds because I deleted all of them, but they were just all spam and bot accounts. Like they were giving me no value. And yeah, I was kind of hit at the ego that my follower count dropped by 500, but like I said, it doesn't matter.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, so I do a lot of social media stuff, and I think you should talk about the people who don't have a lot of time, and they need to make videos, but they don't have time to continuously keep posting them. I think you should talk to them about making a bunch of content all in one day, and then you can go on Instagram and schedule individual posts for them to get released so that you can maximize your time efficiency.
Yes, yeah, good point. So like Braylon was saying, I like to do content batching days where I spend one day solely towards creating content. So that way it's not every single day like, oh crap, I forgot to do something, I forgot to get this video or this picture, so I gotta do it right away and it's gonna look very bad because I wasn't prepared for it, right? So I like to spend one day, I'll plan it at the beginning of the month. And what I do is I have a calendar and I plan out all my posts for the month. So it gives me a good plan. I'm very organized with it that way. And I'm not posting every single day either. It's 2-3 times a week. So I don't have to make that many posts. Anything that's new, I plan it out in the calendar. I will write all the scripts. I'll plan out, okay, I want this type of picture, this type of video. And then I go over to the race shop and I just spend that entire day only doing that. And for me, because I got to do hair and makeup, right? So it's a lot easier if I only have to do that once a month versus, every single day.
Hi. At what point would you guys think about going to like a marketing agency to help promote your branding and try to reach out to some of these bigger companies?
The agents and agency discussion is a good one because I do get asked that question a lot. There are two different types of agencies. You have an agent for yourself, for your team, and then brands have agencies. And you have to, when you do approach an agency, you have to understand, are they an individual agent for a team or an athlete, or are they a brand agency? Because they are very different. Most of us, when we think of the big agencies, we're thinking of brand agencies. When a brand, like here's a great example, it's Toyota use Saatchi & Saatchi. Why? Because Toyota is Japanese. And in Japan, there's a very common sort of business practice of not firing employees. So you get hired by a company, lifelong employee. Well, if you're not good at something, they can't get rid of you. So they hire an agent, or an agency, I should say, to do the marketing and to do a lot of promotions because they can fire that agency anytime they want. And so larger companies that don't want to lay off a lot of staff will use agencies. Now, what you're talking about is an agent for yourself. There are not very many of them out there. There are actually a couple in this room. I see one. Louis, you can raise your hand. There is one agent here. Any others? There's one in the back. I know I've met a couple here at PRI. They're much harder to find because they will typically just work with you, one team, and they are by your side all the time. They become your partner in crime, essentially. They're almost all your events. They create a lot of that social media and a lot of that media that you can't because you don't have the resource. The agent will do that. And then they'll make, obviously, the outgoing calls, and they will be the one to represent and meet sponsors on your behalf. But when it comes to the actual pitch, this is the important part, the sponsor has to know you, not your agent. And that's the part is often when it comes to sponsorship is we want someone else to make the sale for us, and we just want to collect the money and use the money, build our race team. No, the sponsor has to know you. So the agent can make that introduction, but you're the one who has to get to know the relationship on the other side. Otherwise, you probably will not get sponsored by that company. And then you're paying an agent to do something that you could have done. So the agent is important to start those relationships and to be along your side the entire season, doing more than just making outgoing calls. They are your right-hand man, essentially.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Good luck with the agents. I want one too. I need one myself. So.
Hi, my name is Ruby Kuntz. I'm Send It Ruby, R-U-B-I on all socials. My question for you, Megan, I really struggle with reporting. Like, I know that update with Instagram with our stories, I could see my 150 views that I got on my story this morning, but I tagged Lincoln and other collaborators and it actually got like 3,000, which is awesome. I don't know what the long-term reporting will be as far as accessibility. I know historically Instagram is like 90 days. What are some of your favorite, whether it's companies, subscriptions, et cetera, that you recommend that I could possibly explore to have longer or better data longer versus having to screenshot things every day?
Yes, good question. So this was something that I used to spend hours doing. So and I still have spreadsheets back from 10 years ago. I would keep track of every single social media post, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all of it, for each account. And I have my personal racing, our team's racing page, drivers, other clients, all that, and manually track every single interaction, view, tag, all that stuff. Thankfully, Autofluencer is what I recommend to use now, and Erica right there is the founder of Autofluencer, so that's who you need to talk to.
That was convenient. Swear we did not pay her to come
yeah,
up
we did.
with.
Yes, but so Autofluencer is free for racers. It's free for creators to use. You link it to your social media pages, and it automatically pulls all this data and does the report for you within seconds. So it's saving me time and money and it's free to use. So
Hook It is out and Autofluencer is in. Autofluencer is the new Hook It.
No, Autofluencer.
Autofluencer, I can give you a card, so hey.
Yeah, if you,
Yeah, but we are a startup, so just know that. We launched for creators in September, and so sometimes it's quirky. No software is perfect, much like the social networks themselves. They have their own issues. If anybody didn't know, Instagram, Facebook went down this week for a little bit. So it's not perfect, but you can DM me, as Megan knows, as Alex knows, as anybody that's worked with us. Usually you get me on social. If you message us, I'm like, oh, hey, I got you. So if you have any issues, you can also authenticate. So you can pull in your reach, your impressions, your audience demographics, and you actually get a public QR code. So if you were here, and there's actually somebody, is Shift Points in the room? There's somebody who brought a card with their Autofluencer QR code on their hero card. And so when they meet a brand, you can scan it and it pops up all of your social in one place. If you've already authenticated your demographics data, you can have an About Me video, and you can tag all of your race series, what you do. So it makes it like this, kind of like they were saying. That's that initial impression that they're like, oh, damn, I see everything right here. They don't have to click 25 links or see like, oh, hey, this is really old. My engagement's way better now. It's all right there. So it's kind of a nice little tip.
Thanks, Erica. We have to clear the room, but Megan and I will stay here and answer one-on-one questions. Feel free to come on up. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Thank you.
thank you.